Hi, welcome to Country Stitchers. I'm Liz. Today we're going to look at gadgets, a variety of them taken from videos in the past. I'm not going to link them all in the description box, but if you want to go back and reference them, there is a gadget playlist, and you can locate these gadgets in the videos they were initially shared. I want to revisit our Floss Friends video that we did in Ocean City with Janice Noteworthy. Janice Note of Noteworthy Needles, sorry Janice. And it is the drill that allows you to stitch on those pretty resin pumpkins. It's in a nice little package. It's just a hand drill, but the instructions are here. There's an X-Acto knife, a drill bit, everything you need to do the project, and it's all inside of here. And her patterns are available, and I'm sure you'll be able to find them on her site. And I know these are still at Salty Yarns. I saw them when we were down at the shore in October, so I know they're there. And that was a jamboree class that we took with her on those. There was also a project we did in a guild meeting where we did the tomato pin cushions, and we made it ourselves. The ones that look like they're sectioned because you use the string around the outside, go through the center. Those required an extra long needle, and that's these doll making needles. These are really handy for doing different types of finishing, not the least of which are drawing through the center of a pin cushion like that, where you need the extra depth on the needle and to be able to work with it. And they'll come in handy for other projects as well. So I added those to my stash in my finishing. The other thing that I keep handy for finishing, especially on retreats and trips, is a self-healing mat. It's very small. It's a little quilting mat. I got this one at Hobby Lobby. They also sell them at Fat Quarter Shop, Joann's, Michael's, anywhere that you can get sewing projects and supplies. And it's really nice to have around. Fits right in the basket we take on our trips with us, and it's pretty much with me whenever we're on a retreat, especially if we're doing any finishing work. Another finishing item are these bodkins. These are very simple bodkins made by Clover, and they have an opening or eye at the end. You draw them through, and easy peasy. You can put elastic in with them, ribbon, finishing a pillow, whatever you need it for. It's great. This is a yo-yo maker, the largest yo-yo maker I've ever seen. We have shown the smaller ones, and I thought I would just show this one since you've seen the smaller ones on our channel. And you can use yo-yos in so many ways. I have a finish I was going to do with these. I have not done it yet, but you may see these again. Clover makes a lot of sewing items, and another item that they make is a tassel maker. And this I really like. It's very easy to use, and I did a video on this tassel maker, and you'll see that in our, I think it might be in our how-to playlist, but these are great, very great tools. And the last Clover item I have right here for now is a pom-pom maker. And don't laugh at my little pom-pom at the top. I cut the yarn shorter than I would have had I been making a full pom-pom, just to test the maker out, and it was a lot of fun. And that comes in 2 sizes, and I believe there's even a larger pom-pom maker, as well as that large yo-yo maker. They have multiple sizes. The last, I would call it finishing item that I wanted to share is a form I found. You can get these in different shapes, different sizes, And these are great for doing a small ornament or a fob. You can hang that. It's not heavy, but it gives a little weight to the fob when you're finished. You can use it for many things, but I got it to keep on hand for an ornament, and that's in my stash. I think I picked that up at a stitching shop. Might have gotten that when I was away on a retreat sometime with Deb out shopping. This next item, it'll take you back. It's from It's So Emma, and it's called A Stitch and Store. It was sent to us by viewers who watched Gadget Corner, and they sent Deb and I one. The ones, we now have 2 sizes in them as well. We have this larger size, and then there's a smaller one I keep in my basket that I take on retreats, and it keeps all my little tools upright in the side of the basket. I really like it. They now have a variety of colors too. And if you have scissors or anything like that, there's so many different shapes that can be made out of the top to hold things in place. You can put tweezers, needle tubes, scissors, pliers, whatever tools you use. You can even use it for my favorite little tool next to my stitchy stash, although I don't use it next to my chair, but this is my boo-boo stick, and it'll fit in there too. So I like this little gadget. It's like a silicone on the top, the little weave that you put your things into. So let's revisit. I showed you this. This is a really simple device. It is a sheath for a pair of scissors. You can find them at your local needlework shops. You can find them in your sewing stores. But if you carry your scissors separately in an accessory bag, you're probably fine. But if you like to drop them into your project bag and you don't have a cover for your tip, these come in great. And they're not that expensive, and you can get them in solid colors, patterned colors like that one, which is now on the floor. And they're really nice to have. Then, well, let's revisit that boo-boo stick. This is a size 26, I believe, needle. This was manufactured ages ago. I don't see them in the stores anymore. Rainbow Gallery made a version of this for a while, but they hadn't been sending any new ones last time I was at a needlework shop. But it has a needle with a bend in it on the one end for taking things out, and a needle that the top has been cut off the eye on the other end, and that allows you to slip it under a thread, pull a thread through, grab a thread. It's kind of a neat gadget on that side. And I keep it in this little plastic case. It came in this originally, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to hang on to it. I like that just because it is so sharp on both ends. I don't get it caught on anything. Excuse me 1 minute. I needed to find a Kleenex for a second. So that would be my boo-boo stick. Another tool for while you're stitching is called a detailer. Now this little gadget has been made by different people in different ways. You could get these very ornamental. I have a set that have sterling silver charms on them. I've made these out of, excuse me, it'll come to me, out of a needle, and I've put like beads and things on the back of the needle, just adorned it a little bit, but it's the same idea, only I use that to rip out stitches, and this one's used to basically tuck your tail in the back after you've stitched. I don't use this as often, just simply because I run my needle through a couple of threads in the back if it's not too tight. This comes in handy if you're stitching on fabric that your stitches are really tight. You can get it through because it's twisted at the end there, and it's a little sturdier to slide through than just the loop wire with no twist on it. So that's the detailer. We all thread our needles. Some of us fold our thread over our needle and crease it and put it through the eye. Some of us run the thread through the eye by drawing our needle over the thread. Some of us lick our thread and stick it through. I am not a licker. We had a video about that, had a lot of conversation in the comments regarding licking thread. We also talked about needles and whether or not you put them in your mouth. Separate topic. But here's two threaders. The pink one, I'm sure you've seen these come, they're very inexpensive. They come with a lot of, what I want to say, beginning sewing kits. You'll see these in there. It's got a little wire at the end for threading your needle. And this is very similar to one that Loran makes. It's got a wider hook at one end, a narrower hook at the other. You slip that through the eye, lay your thread in the top, draw it back. There's two types. And then these were sent to us to share on a video. And we had this on Gadget Corner not long ago. It's got a very small tip to it. And what I liked about it is I can use these on my beading needles because it's a much smaller eye on the needle. And that's nice. And they came in a variety of colors and packages of them. So there's 3 types of needle threaders to enhance your stitching experience, which is what this is all about anyway. And if you're like me and you like gadgets, you've got them for everything else in your house. You might as well have them for your stitching too. Now these items I'm going to share with you were not manufactured for stitching per se. They do connect to needlework. Initially, these were called Huggies. They sell them by the bag. They're made out of silicone, and they have bobbin holders that go with them. And this is what the bobbin holder looks like. It sits in the top of your thread, and you just pop your bobbin that matches that thread right on top. And this little silicone Huggie holds your thread on the outside of your spool, and it works very well. But they can also be used to help anchor your fabric onto the side of your Q-snap. And I'll show you that in one second. I will demonstrate, but I also want to show you one other thing that I am using on my needlework as well. These are silicone magnets, silicone covered magnets that have a piece of silicone in between, and you can get varying lengths. That's the longer version. There's a very small version. There's 2 of them here. I like these because they're a little bit sturdier, but you won't be able to gather a lot of extra fabric with this. Mostly just keep it onto your Q-snap out of the way. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'm working on this piece right now. This is one of those silicone bands, and you can see how you can wrap it around your fabric that's extra and keep it out of the way. And then I'm going to show you what you can do with the Huggie at the top here. The other way to use them is, you'll see how there were quite a few stitchers using them at the retreat. You see table to table, everybody has their own set of what works for them. But you can see there, that's how it holds your fabric up at the top or the sides. So again, Huggies, and those are made out of silicone. We're making progress. At first I thought, oh my gosh, I'll have 10,000 gadgets, but I decided to narrow it down to some of the ones that I use regularly and that are a little more unique. The last part to do with needles, per se, is these are from Fat Quarter. You can get these just about anywhere as far as needle cases go. This one's magnetic inside. Hold your needles in place. We did a video, Deb and I, where she took the time. We were sent a set of these and she decorated them all and had different size needles in each case when she decorated it. And those came out really nicely. You'll see it was a Floss Friends video, I believe. But it was one that we took at my house, so that will show up differently on the picture. You'll see that. Might help you find it. And then this was just a pin that I did out of a kit. Thought it was cute, little Christmas pin. So that's just one type of needle case. People use needle tubes. Not long ago, I was away visiting a shop and I bought a wooden tube that was made out of like rosewood, turned on a lathe, really pretty, and the top unscrews, and it's kind of a teak wood maybe, but I like those. I have that next to my chair with a good supply of 26 and 28 needles in it. This next item ties into needles. It's called Needle ID Card by Access Commodities. This is wonderful. Inside is a set of cards that describe every type of needle and gives you a picture of the sizes of the needles in each category. So they're really nice. Tapestry needles, which are what we use, size 26, 28, 24. Chenille needles. Milner needles. Betweens. English crewel embroidery needles. I wonder if there's a difference. I really don't know. And sharps. So it's nice. It gives you a little bit of information about them, describes them, tells you a little bit of history on the back as well. For instance, the one that talks about tapestry needles says in 1496, Leonardo da Vinci designs a machine to make points on sewing needles. In 1952, German engineers from Schmetz rebuilt the machine from the original drawings. And it shows you a picture of the old machine that was made by Leonardo da Vinci. Huh, interesting. So those are great. And I keep these in my basket so I can check sizes. Oftentimes your needles will get separated from your project and you don't remember what you were using, and you can always tell real quickly with this. But it's not I don't want to say it's not a sticky point, whether you have a 24 or 26 or a 28. It's personal preference most of the time. No hard and fast rules. Now, I do a lot of beading. I also have projects that have beads on them that are stitched, and there's a couple of things I keep on hand for that. This is called a beadsmith. I really like it. It's got an interesting finish that's a bit tacky, like a tacky bob, but I don't think it's the same substance as a tacky bob, which is a little compact case that you can keep your beads in, and it has an adhesive in it so they don't roll around or roll out. And this one just sits on your table and keeps them in place. I wouldn't want to roll the beads up in here and stick them back into my project bag, but you could set this into a little case of some kind and close it if you had beads on it. I just put them away. I just use it when I want to do a project and I'm on the road. It's handy to take along. And this one is really interesting. I got this for doing needlepoint more so than cross-stitch beading because it's sticky inside and it's magnetic. So you can actually put it onto your canvas or your stitching and attach it to your canvas and your beads are in there. As you go, you can bead. So I like this. ETC, my little bead box. This little thing you've seen, maybe don't recognize right off the bat, but if you've been in a store and they've got price signs up around their room, like Staples or Office Max, and they have all the prices clipped onto the racks, that's what these are, and these hold the price signs. Well, they also hold your pattern really well, and they can clip onto your frame or your scroll rod, and your pattern is right there. And we like them. They sell these, or a version of these, with a longer shaft at most needlework shops. I bought an entire bag of these. We used them for our day treat in the Welcome to the Day Treat bag. And I was able to get a large bag of these at one of the office supply stores. So I think it was Staples maybe, but they're neat. I can throw them into a lot of different bags, and I'm not worried about, you know, keeping track of just one. Then I have a gadget that was sent very early on in our videos for a similar purpose as that, which was to clip onto your scroll rod and hold your pattern. And this was, I believe, originally for reading, like it held your pages open on your book or something to that extent. It's made by a company called Kensington. And it's, the only thing about it is that it's restricted by its length. So once you get it onto your scroll rod, you don't have a lot of room to move it out of your way. So if you have a nice stand and you've got a nice setup, this might work really well for you. Deb used this on her montage to mark her margins and top and bottom, side to side. It's the Easy Count Guideline. That's the packaging that comes with it. And there are instructions as to how to set it up. And what you do is you grid your fabric. If you have a large project, a lot of people who do Heaven and Earth designs use gridded fabric. It's already in the fabric, the other line. It washes out or fades with time depending on what you purchase. But this is a way to do it on your own fabric if you don't have pre-gridded fabric. And not all counts of fabric that I'm aware of have the grid in them. So it's limited. But Heaven and Earth Design sells the gridded fabric as well. On their site, I've seen it. But this can be picked up at your needlework store. And I believe R&S Designs put it out. I was looking to see if they had a website referenced. Yes, rseasycount.com, and you can find it online. And it's, for lack of a better way to describe it, it's like a very lightweight fishing line that's red instead of watercolored or blue. I have a piece that I gridded that's a small Christmas teddy bear piece, and I haven't stitched it yet, but I got the work done. And I pulled it out just this past Christmas, and I thought about it, but I never got it started, so it's there. Coming down to the last couple items. This next one is a set of counting pins that were distributed and sold through Fern Ridge Collections. It's called a Stitcher's Dozen, and it's a large pin, and the heads are decorated with Swarovski crystals, so they're very pretty, but they're very functional as well. As you can see, they're all different colored, and the way it works is each color, according to their instructions, marks a certain number of stitches. You could make that whatever number you wanted, depending on how you stitch. But ideally with one set, you can go up to 500 stitches if you use them to count the way they do. Or you can just use any color you want, every 10 or every 20. We did do a video talking about counting pins as well. And there are some really pretty ones out there. A lot of people just use 2 and they mark every so often so they know where they are when they're stitching and can double check their counts. It makes it nice if you have a lot of space that you have to count. You can count it once, mark it, and know where you are without having to recount a lot of things. So however you choose to use counting pins, if you choose to, that's a nice set from Stitchers, from Fern Ridge Collection, Stitchers does them. Now, that was, again, one of the more unusual things. 2 more on my list today. This one is a spool pod. Now, when I got it for the purpose of using it for my sulky threads. I love it for the sulky threads. Deb has found that these spool pods work great with her Aurifil spools that she bought. Actually, I think she has a couple sets. The one we have from Fat Quarter Shop is when we first realized it. And then I think she has another set she got as well. But again, made out of silicone. People have commented that they're like the water bottle ice cube makers. I don't put those kinds of ice cubes in my bottle, but I can understand it. So you just snap them into the tray. You can roll them up, put them in your travel kit, put them in your basket. You can leave them open, slide them in your project bag, but it's a really nice way to keep track of your spool threads. And that's an idea of, you can put the spool, if you use spools like sulkies come on a spool, and then you have a bobbin to match if you're using them for embroidery on a sewing machine, or if you're just stitching, you may not have the bobbin, but it holds your thread really nicely. And that was from Pattern Trace is the company that puts that out. And we did a Gadget Corner featured item on that as well. You should be able to find that in our Gadget Corner playlist. I would be remiss if I didn't make this the last gadget that I share, because I use it regularly. People see it when we do Floss Friends, and I often wear them when I'm stitching at home. And these are called Magna Clips. That's what they look like when they're put away. And it's like a pair of glasses right here embossed, and it says Magna Clips. And they slide in, and they're lined so they don't scratch. And these are the clip-on magnifiers. I will show you. I use them with my bifocals. So I have varying strengths. They're made from 1.0 power to 5.0. I have a variety in between. And so depending on what I'm stitching on, I will add to the strength of my bifocals for the fabric. So this is a 2.0, and it just slides right over the top of your glasses. It has worked for me with every script I've had, that I can still see the television out the top of my script, and then I can see either out the doubled bifocal with it or out the bottom if I don't need the extra bifocal. And that has worked on every pair of glasses I've ever worn. Some people say their glasses are made differently. They can't get them to fit properly. I would try these with your glasses in the needlework store just to see how they work before I paid for them, because they're not inexpensive. I have seen them priced. When I first bought my pair, it was in the 2003 or 4 range. And I found them on a senior site for things that you might need to enhance your vision as you're growing older. And I thought, wow, I like that. I could keep them in my project bag. And then I discovered within a year or two that they were being sold in office supply stores as well as stitching shops, and they took off like crazy. So they are out there and available, but I lost my train of thought. $7.99 when I bought my first pair, and I've seen them as high as $24.99. So shop around, look for your pricing, because you will find at least a $7 difference in the pricing between one site and another. So you might want to look at that. And yes, this is what you see on me. I call them my bug eyes. So do the kids. I love gadgets. I also love my needlework. And we really appreciate you joining us on Country Stitchers, Deb and I. For all of you who helped to make this craft industry what it is, whether you're in retail, a designer, a fellow stitcher, creating floss tubes, watching floss tubes, thank you to everyone who contributes to this industry. It has made a tremendous comeback over the last 10 years, and I hope it continues to be a source of joy for all of you, as it is for Deb and I. And as always, share the joy needlework. Bye-bye.